Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff. Hey guys, welcome back to FFC. I'm Maureen.
I'm Amanda.
and I'm Jeanette.
And we are back with another book conversation, I guess, for you. We are talking Powerless. Powerless is the book. She just came out with a new novella. It came out, when did it come out? June? This is the book by Lauren Roberts, Powerless by Nora Roberts. And she came out with a little novella called Powerful. Was that, it's not June. Can't possibly be June because it's not June yet.
It just came out
May.
like a couple weeks
April.
ago, I think. Yeah. April,
Yes.
I think. Yeah.
So we are talking that book today. This book took everybody by storm, I think. I heard about it on TikTok for that
Where I heard about
that
it.
Christian book reviewer that I follow that you told me about. So we're going to be talking about this. I like that we get to talk about more books lately. I know that we have some shows that are going to be ending here, and I think you're going to be getting a Bridgerton one soon because that comes out this week at the time of this recording, right?
In 12 days.
It is next week? Okay.
12 days from today.
Poor Amanda got so excited for a minute. I was thinking this week was the 13th, but that's not this week. Okay. So I want you to know that these ladies here are going to sacrifice for you with their blood, sweat, and tears. They're just going to power through and they're just going to binge it in one day just for you. So they could get that recording out that Sunday. So if you want to wait to watch it and you want to hear what it's like first, these ladies will be giving you that recording, their review of it, of the first part anyway. A couple days after
there will
it's
be
out.
spoilers in that though, so
Absolutely.
I would watch it before you listen.
Because there's only going to be like 4 or 5 episodes in the first part. That'll easily be watched in a day.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot about that.
There's no issues with
No
that.
problem.
You're sacrificing. It's a sacrifice.
Sacrificing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Big sacrifice.
So let's get into Powerless. That's what's coming your way. We got the endings and season finales and Bridgerton coming out in the Bear. Hopefully that's coming your way. But today we're talking Powerless by Nora Roberts. Nope, Lauren Roberts. Is she related to Nora Roberts?
I don't think so.
Because
Yeah, I
that's what
don't
I
think
kept
so.
calling her for the longest time. I actually was like, I don't know if I want to read this book because it's a Nora Roberts book. But it's not Nora Roberts. It's a completely different human being. But she describes it herself as a cross between the Hunger Games and the Red Queen. Jeanette, will you read a little synopsis of it on the back of the book for us, please?
Oh, sure. It says, the elites have possessed powers for decades, gifted to them by the plague, while those born ordinary are just that, banished from the kingdom of Ilya. Okay, I didn't listen to this audio. So is this Ilya?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think so.
I always listen to audio, so this is very strange. I don't have pronunciation. Okay. Banished from the king of Ilya and shunned from society. No one knows this better than Peyton Gray, an ordinary posing as a psychic to blend in with the elites. But when she unwittingly saves one of Ilya's princes, Kai Azar, she's thrown into the purging trials, a brutal competition showcasing the elites' powers. If the trials and opponents within them don't kill her, the prince she's fighting feelings for will if he discovers what Peyton is, completely ordinary.
Took me a while to get into this book, if I'm being honest. And I think that's because I came off of Fourth Wing and ACOTAR, and there's significantly more like bam, bam, bam. And I did enjoy the book by the end. I enjoyed it. I still think I gave it, I don't remember what I gave it, a 3, I think. I don't have my phone in here to look at Book Maury, but I think I gave it a 3 or a 3.5. I gave it a 3.5.
I think I gave it 3.5. Yeah.
I gave it a 3.5.
This is my bent, and this is why I need you guys to balance me out, because my instinct is to say, well, this is what I did like about it, and this is what I found a problem with. But there was a lot that I did like about it. However, I need someone to explain to me why the purging trials even made sense, because they're getting rid of all the ordinaries so that the elites can survive and thrive, but then they're killing off elites for no other reason than to just like they all die except for one. So how is that preserving the elites? How does that serve your purpose? It didn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense. I'm not sure that it's fully like explained, if I'm being honest, because I've seen other people on TikTok also talk about this.
Yeah. I think this is what you get when you have a very young author who writes a story when she's 16 that has a lot of potential. But when you write a book when you're that age, there's gonna be holes.
Yeah, I think it definitely like I think it's got a lot of potential, and that's what
Mhm.
I like a lot about it. But I think it's also like there's parts that need to be developed a little
Yes.
more.
Yeah.
And maybe
Now, I
that'll
think,
come in the second book.
yeah, I hope so. And I think like for me, like the reason I did 3.5 was because I loved the characters. Like, I mean,
Yes.
Peyton and Kai both, and even Kit, like all three of them, I was super invested in their stories. And honestly, I was really invested when we were within the trials. But there was a lot of extra that I felt like kind of
Yes.
dragged stuff along, which is the only reason that it got lowered. But I am still extremely invested in where this story is going.
Hmm.
Yeah. It was slow
Yes.
to me. It
Yes.
was just like there was
In
extra
Redundant.
stuff in there.
Because in other parts I was so consumed
Mhm.
that I couldn't put it down. But then there would be other parts where I'd be like, okay, like can
Yeah.
we, and
Yeah.
it was during the trials. I wanted to be in the trials and not in the extra
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned that it felt repetitive and it felt like there were some things that repeated itself. And there was,
Mhm.
I was asked why, and I think what parts are repetitive. I don't even know that there really was repetition, but the scenes, it seemed like the first two trials, for instance, it
Mhm.
seemed like the same exact thing happened. There was no difference. It was Kai saved her both times and she handled business at the end, but she needed his help heavily. She couldn't do it on her own. He had to help. So it felt like
Yeah.
repeating the same things. And then there were some lines where she would say something to Kai and then he would say it back to her in a later scene. But they kept doing that. They kept reversing back and
See,
forth and back and forth. And I was like,
I didn't
I need
notice that,
difference.
but I saw someone else make a TikTok saying that exact same thing that you did. So I mean, I believe that it happened. For whatever reason, I didn't notice it. And I
I
don't
didn't
know,
either, I
but
guess.
I think here's why I think I didn't notice it, because where I am such a like big romance reader too, everything is when you read so many of these romance novels, everything is repetitive, like the same storylines
That's true.
cycle over. And so I think my brain just doesn't care. Like
Mhm.
as long as I'm still entertained. But I saw someone else saying the same things you're saying. So I know it happened. I just didn't notice it.
But honestly, it could be too because I mean, she did say it was inspired by the Hunger Games. So a lot of this
Yeah.
pulls nuances from the Hunger Games. And I had read Fourth Wing first. And I didn't
Yeah.
realize that Fourth Wing came out after this book did. So
Mhm.
when he was calling her vicious, I was like, oh, stealing that from Fourth Wing, are we? Because he calls her violence.
Yeah.
And Jeanette pointed out, well, this one came out first. I'm like, oh,
We just
okay.
read Fourth Wing first.
So Rebecca
Yeah.
Yarros, what are you doing? So I wonder if I would have felt different if I had read her book before I read Fourth Wing, if I would have felt maybe it wasn't
Maybe.
as repetitive. But I was
Yeah.
also looking for the excitement that Fourth Wing, and I think part of the issue is this is a developing story, and she intends to stretch it out, so she had to develop it.
Mhm.
However, it seemed like that first book really took a lot of what needed to be developed. Like it was a very certain ending at that. The purging trials are all done.
Yeah.
Even at the end of Hunger Games, like the trials were not done after Hunger Games.
I
It had
know.
to develop further. So what I really needed to be developed was why, and maybe she will go into that in the second book of why they started the purging trials and what they did. But there were
Yeah.
parts that genuinely surprised me.
Yeah.
And that's if it's I think a good book. I had a writing teacher who is the best writing teacher I've ever had, and I've had a lot. And he wasn't just my best writing teacher, but everybody in my school. His name was Mr. Fix, and he was our creative writing teacher in high school. And he always said, "Good writing evokes sensation." And so, if
Mhm.
you can surprise me with a book and you can make me feel things in a book,
Mhm.
it's a good book. And I
Yeah.
think she like that scene. And okay, so there are going to be some spoilers. We're not going to give away the ending per se. I don't. That
No.
might come up, but I don't think we're going to give any details because we want you to read this book.
It's
But there will
fine.
be some details in the book that we're going to talk about. So just know that going forward. But that scene where she finds out what really happened to her dad made me so emotional.
Yeah.
I was so sad. And that honestly, we're not going to, and again, no details, but let's talk about that ending. Completely threw me. Was not, I don't know why. Looking back, maybe I should have, but that ending I did not expect. At the end of the trials, talking about the end of the trials. What happens at the end of the last trial, right before chaos breaks out?
Yes.
I saw what happened and I was like, what? No, but no.
Yeah, I thought for sure she wasn't
Yeah.
gonna die. And I mean, like, I don't know. Yeah, it shocked me, I guess. I thought like she was gonna be okay.
I
Like,
sobbed that part.
and I
She
don't,
wrote that emotion well.
yeah, I mean, this was like, I mean, this wasn't like Liam level. Here,
Mm-mm,
throw it back.
mm-mm.
But it was definitely close. Like I didn't sob or whatever. But it's also because I was reading. I feel like if I'd been listening to an audio, I might have sobbed. Because
Yeah.
sometimes like
Yeah.
hearing it like makes a difference for me. But I mean, it was I didn't see it coming at all.
No.
And I don't even know, like, I can tell you, like, part of what, like, there was lots of things I didn't see coming because, like, just throughout the thing, I expected, like, Peyton to, like, change her course of what she was doing throughout the
Mhm.
season, and she didn't. And I mean,
No.
in a way, I feel like I should be on her side, but I'm not because I'm like, no, like, Kai, like, trusted you and, like, he was there for you. And even Kit, like, I loved Kai and Kit so much that I was really angry with her.
Yeah,
I
I
think she,
liked
even
both of
though,
them.
like, logically, I'm like, it's justified. It is. It's completely justified. But I'm angry because I love these boys.
I feel like in books often, like in shows, we are often on the same page, but in books, we are often not on the same page.
No. You were on her Oh my gosh.
Yes. What
Why?
those people were doing was evil and wicked,
But they don't know any better. That's
but
what
they
they've been
should.
like. They
But like we
should.
saw,
That
like
does
how
irritate me a little bit. It did.
Because she even took Kit down there to see what it was, and then it looked like he was going to have
Yeah.
a change of heart. I love those boys, I
And
do,
he didn't.
because
It's-
That bothered
they're the
me.
product of how they were raising. But she
Yeah.
took him to the slums so he could see what was happening. And even Kai, he knew what he was doing was wrong. This isn't giving any away because it happens right in the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
He couldn't even bear to kill those kids. So
No.
he knew it was wrong what he was doing. He knew it was wrong. He did it because of his father. But at the end, for what happened there, and they got so mad at her for doing what she did. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what he did. And you all knew it was bad. And you were
Yeah.
punning, and that, so I ended the book really frustrated with Kit and Kai.
Did you put it in the
Really?
freezer?
Well, no, I
Mine
wasn't
was
that.
the
I was,
opposite.
what was the book that I had to put down and walk away? Oh, when Reese died. We're going to talk about that next. I had to actually stop reading and take a walk. I was so mad that you guys
Ooh,
did not
wait.
prepare me for that. So when she did what she did, I think that they shouldn't have been as hard on her as they were because they knew who their father was. They knew.
And I agree, but here's my issue is that I feel like
And they
she just
hated him.
completely betrayed Kit in the way she went about it. I am a believer that I think both Kit and Kai felt something for her and were decent enough guys that if somehow she could have been honest with them, this could have turned out a little differently. I think we could have had a conversation.
Mm,
I do.
I think she did do Kit a little
Definitely
dirty.
with Kai. I think maybe not with Kit, but I want to have hope for him. But with Kai, I think she could have had a conversation and
I
didn't
don't.
have to betray him like this.
I think she could have with Kit. He's the more gentle one. I think if she would have
No,
talked
I
to him,
think Kit's way too much attached to his daddy.
I think
I don't
that's
think
what
I think he wants
too-
to make his dad proud, but I think he has the heart that if he really knew how bad things were and why she's doing what she's doing, I think he could be turned at least a little bit. I don't think Kai could be turned at all because Kai is like, no, I know this is wrong. I know I'm a monster. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I was made for. This is it.
But I think if he
Oh.
realizes that he has to like kill Peyton,
He's
I
not
don't
gonna
think
do
he
it.
would.
No,
He's working
There's
towards
no
that now.
he's not
He's
going
not
to.
ready to.
He's not
Oh,
going
I don't think he's
to.
going to. But that's what I'm saying. That's why she didn't tell him because that's what she knows he's hunting her now. She knows it.
Well, he is now. He would. I mean, like
He
because of
would
what
have
she
too,
did.
had he
No,
found out
I
because the
disagree.
king would have known because the king would have gotten out of one of those boys if she had talked to one of them, and then they would have gotten the order from daddy to go hunt her. And I think Kai would be doing to her now what he was doing to her then, what he's doing now, which is, I'm gonna hunt you, but I'm not ready to find you.
I don't know. I'm pretty spitting with Kai Azar, and I just there's
I like
absolutely
him.
nothing.
I
like,
am too.
Like
But
he's right up there. He's up there with Zayden for me. Like I'm into him.
Oh,
I'm
really?
into him. Yeah, I'm into him.
I
He's
would
not
not
up
say
there
that.
for me.
No.
Like he's not like Cat because I'll rank him. Like okay, because Rhysand is like below all of those. Cassian's at the top, and then Zayden.
Rhysand is beneath all of them.
Read Silver Flames.
Oh, now I really don't want to read that book.
It may not affect you the way it did me, but it pissed me
I
off.
still love Rhysand.
I mean,
There's
I'm not like I don't hate him, but he's just below these other guys. Like Cassian's my
Mad
dude,
about
and
that.
then I don't know. I'm just saying.
But I do like Kai. I like him a lot. But here's the other thing that bugged me about those two. Kit is supposed to be this gentle, sweet guy who's very, he loves his brother. He has eyes, right? Like he's not blind.
Yeah.
He can see things.
Yeah.
Can you not tell what your brother feels about this girl and felt about her
Look.
before you got involved, my guy?
But the thing is, to put this in perspective, I told you all from the beginning. I'm pretty
He's
sure
daddy's boy and
Kit,
gets whatever he wants whenever he wants,
Kit
so
is
everyone else
our
be damned.
Kit is our Dane. Kit is our Tamlin. Like in my opinion, like
I hate Dane.
I love how you say that, but not about Tamlin. I hate Tamlin so much more than I hate Dane. It's insane. Like so much
No,
more
I agree with
off
that.
topic.
I don't like Tamlin at all,
No,
but I
Like,
think I hate Dane more.
it goes
Dane-
Dane, tampon. No.
like Dane. No, wait, were you saying you like Dane more or less than? I don't understand what you're ranking. You like
She's
Dane
saying
more?
she likes Dane more.
Yeah, he still has potential for redemption. Tamlin, I don't want it at all. Like I don't care. Ugh.
I,
No.
I want to talk Akatar
Okay,
right now.
we're getting so distracted. But I think Kit is. I think his trajectory is to be that
I
character
agree.
in the story.
I agree. I ended the book
Or
mad
what?
at
Or
him.
Gale, if we're talking about like Hunter Games. Like I feel like he's
I
character.
agree with that completely.
Yeah.
I think this is really good tie to make.
But I like him, and I mean that's the thing. It's the same thing with. I mean, it's not like Gale was like this horrible person, but
No,
he
but
was
he
no
made really
Peeta.
awful choices that were
And I
very
think that's
self-serving.
it's the same. I think.
I did like them a little better when that fan art came out. I'm not mad at that fan
I
art.
mean, that Kit fan art though, that I was like, oh, like I couldn't picture him in my head because I don't like blondes, but that picture worked for me. And I was like,
The
okay,
one
Yeah, I
thing
missed it.
I feel like the fan art for the guys is always like, holy cow, that looks awesome. They look really good. But then the fan art for the girls is weird because they always make them like really tiny doll faces. Like, do
yeah,
we need to make them look that much younger than they are though? Can we make them
I
a
know.
little older? Because it's starting to
know.
feel a little dirty. So I
Yeah,
wasn't
I
a
agree.
huge fan of the face of Peyton. I wanted to,
Yeah.
that's not what I want to call her. I want to call her Vicious. The face of Peyton, I thought was way too youthful, way too doll-like.
Yeah.
But the rest of her, because it's almost like their head is even smaller. But the rest they have like an adult body with a little
I agree with
head.
that. I agree with
Why?
that. Yeah.
Can we make age appropriate fan art, please, for these people? Because it
I
just
agree.
feels like really old men going for really young girls, and that is pedophilic, and I don't like it.
In this story, they're the same age. So that's
They
not
are.
even. I mean, like, so yeah, I agree.
But the fan art of the boys looks good.
Very good.
So I like that. But I think the story, beyond the repetition, beyond the fact that the purging trials makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
I know we need Lauren. Can you please just give us just a little bit of clarity on these
You
trials?
gotta jump back somehow. You
Please.
gotta show some backstory with maybe even Kit poring over his dad's papers of why the purging trials started, of
Yeah.
what the thought process was behind them, of why people are so excited to compete. Because even in the slums, what do you get if you win? That was never discussed.
That's and that's one of the biggest complaints I see online. So maybe she will, and she's very active on TikTok. So maybe she
Yes.
will see this and realize, okay, I've got to give a little bit more backstory here. Like
Mhm.
on this side. I kind
Yeah.
of hope so because I love the idea of it, but I don't know why it's
Mhm.
happening.
And I think what this felt like to me, because I've written books and I do that kind of writing, but I think that what this feels like to me is she had this story in her head that she just had to get out. And so she got out what was in her head, but it's a big story.
Yeah.
So she had to divide it somehow. And maybe this is how it made the most sense to divide for her. But because it's such a huge story and she just had to get out what was in her head, I think that's why it wasn't as developed. I think her only thought was, well, this is going to happen and this has to be there. And she didn't develop the reason behind why it had to be there. Just know that that has to be there to advance the story.
Yeah.
So I think she is really good at listening to people too, because I mean, when you write, you're not writing for other people. You're writing because you have a story to tell,
Sure.
but you also want people to buy the books. So
Yeah,
I think she's going to see that, okay, this didn't make sense. So we'll have to develop that. I think she will. If she doesn't, that's going to be a huge disappointment.
I agree.
Yeah, totally.
But I do, listening to her talk and listening to one of you sent the TikTok of her at that. It was at a church,
Yeah.
she pointed out, but the sub panel.
Everybody's wanting more. Yeah.
I think that she has a pretty good idea, even the way she talks about what's coming. She has the story laid out. So if she can just fill in those gaps. The side characters are really entertaining in here too. Like I like the side. I think it's the side characters have just as much at stake in these books as the main characters do. And that's not very common in a book. And I think she did a really good job with those.
She
I
did.
agree.
I want to know what happened to Peyton's maid. What's her name? Ellie?
Oh,
Elsa?
no.
Ezra? Elias? I don't know. Something with an E.
Something. I remember who you're talking about, but I do not remember her name. I'm
See,
sorry,
here's the
that's
thing. I only rented the book from the library. So I don't have it.
true. Sorry.
And the other thing too was that part of it was because I work, so I'm tired at the end of the day. But it took me 3 weeks to get through the parts of the book where I'm like, oh, can you stop repeating yourself? And then once I got to the meat of it, I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
And so it took me 3 weeks to get over halfway through the book, and then I just slammed it out in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're reading this book and you're like, when does it get good? Reading, because the story itself is good. She's got something important to say, and she's going to finish it out, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I wonder, I
Absolutely.
know she said there's going to be more than one like novella. I'm kind of
Mhm.
curious. Like, I wonder,
Who's the other
But
one
the-
going to be about, you think?
I actually kind of hope that Kit gets a novella.
Maybe that's where we're going to find out why the purging trials are there. Is in the
Maybe.
novella.
Maybe.
Because then she could take it back to wherever she wants it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, I could get on board with that. I would like to see one on Kit.
Because
Even
I
on
think
Kai,
Kit's the
on
only
the two of them
person I
together.
could think of. Because Kai, I feel like Kai and Peyton get enough in the main stories, like of what they like are doing. So like I think Kit getting a little novella just to give us a little deeper into him would be nice.
Mhm.
This is cool and powerful though. It has like a list of, I don't know if you can see like the different abilities.
Oh, I like that.
Oh,
Like
that's
I
cool.
thought that was cool because that was one thing. There were so many of them that I was like, okay, I
Yeah.
get really confused on what everybody can do. So
Yeah.
like that was cool to see like a list of the different like abilities and like
I like that a lot. The other thing that the other novella could be about is because this wasn't developed at all. Why did the king want her dad dead so bad? How involved was he in the palace? How often did, because even
True.
didn't one of the brothers say, yes, I remember your father coming here to heal people when we would have whatever.
I think Kit said, yeah, I think Kit talked about that, didn't he?
So there,
Maybe?
yeah, so there has
One
to
of
be a
them did.
reason. I mean, obviously we find out that that the king knows what his dad is really up to, but how and why? And
Yeah.
why was her dad in the slums but so involved in things at the palace?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be a good tie-in to make too. Although
Yeah.
as I'm
Yeah.
saying that, I'm remembering more about the story that she actually did say.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
And I think the other thing she needs to develop, and I kind of saw it at the end of this book, where I started to like Peyton a little more. Because up until then, Peyton seemed like this helpless thing who needed somebody else to carry her through, where she
Mhm.
wasn't strong enough on her own. But by the end, I got a completely different picture of her at the end. But it took almost the entire book for her to get there. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, kind of. I don't know. I don't know that I feel that way because I felt like she was pretty strong all the way through. Just the fact that she was able to like fool everyone into thinking that she had these abilities and she's been taking care of her own. But
Yeah, I thought that was great. I mean, physically, like within the trials,
Yeah.
like she couldn't do it on her own. She
Yeah.
had to have someone else carry her
well,
through.
I mean, she almost had because I mean, here she wasn't ordinary, and everybody else has all these like crazy powers, and she's got like nothing. To
I
work
thought she was going to be the stronger though. Like
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I did too. I really did. I thought she was going to be more. So as I'm reading this, I'm also reading like the Throne of Glass, and so I think I'm
That's
comparing
my
her
problem to Selena, which
to
is like
Selena,
different.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, she's going to be a baddie, like she's going to be awesome, and it was a little bit of a letdown
Mhm.
of what came out of it, but I
What
don't
do you
know.
think?
I mean, it's I don't want to say it's realistic because it's not realistic, but it's like realistic that she doesn't. She's powerless.
Yeah,
So she is
that's
gonna need
true. It
help.
was the name of the book.
Powerless. Yeah.
So
Until
I'm
Amanda
like,
said that, I didn't even think about that. So I'm like, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Maybe that's not something I should be allowed to complain about.
I mean, yeah, it
Ooh,
but it
so
is
if that's
hard because like in the beginning of the book, like she rescues Kai, and you just feel like she's gonna be way
Yes.
more powerful than she turns out to be
Yes.
when she actually gets into the trials.
Because you think
So.
that where she's powerless is in having magic abilities, but you get the idea from the beginning of the story that is only the only way she is powerless. Yes, she's powerless against these elites because she doesn't have these powers, but everything else about her has been so strong. In fact, she's so strong that she could convince others that she had a magic ability.
Mhm.
So that's what you can. I mean, obviously, she can't be stronger than Kai. Kai's done this his entire life, so I did respect that reality of it, that she wasn't stronger than Kai. I mean, that's
Yeah,
realistic.
yeah. I don't
No,
know.
I thought it was a good story. I think it's worth continuing. I think it's worth getting into the other ones. Now, the novella that came out is about Adina.
Yes.
Do you think that she let that slip, that that's who the novella was about before it came out because she wanted people to be so surprised?
Maybe. Maybe.
Because
Yeah.
that was genuinely shocking for me.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like Bree Tanner.
It is good, yeah. But Adina was a little more part of the story.
She was.
But I think, but I mean, it had to happen because without that happening, I feel like that is the last step to
It did.
push her
Mhm.
into like betraying these boys. Because I mean,
And
I don't
that's also why what happened in that final trial is also why I was even more mad at Kit and Kai for how they reacted to what she did. The
Yeah.
king is the one who did that. They
Yeah.
knew what they meant to each other. I'm trying to be
Yeah.
very vague in how I'm describing this, but I hope you guys know what I'm saying. The king
Yeah.
knew, and Kit and Kai knew what this girl meant to her.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
king still did it, and they knew it was the king's doing.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any, and I get it's their dad. I get that, but they both hated this man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they saw what she did. So even though you might want to arrest her, you might want to do what's necessary, but to come at her so like the way Kit changed, to come at her that angrily and that hard with no remorse, with no conviction, with nothing, just I want you dead and I'm gonna torture you the way whatever. It didn't make sense based on who they built these boys up to be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Kai's kind
I
of made
agree.
sense though. I did like how Kai was like, I'm not ready to find you. I thought that was
Because
realistic.
he's not, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm eager to know how it moves forward. I don't know, like, and especially now that like you guys have like made the wordplay on like the title of her being
Mhm.
powerless. So then who's going to be reckless? Is it going to be
Reckless.
like, is Kai being reckless? And
I think he's
like,
gonna have to be
I think it's going to be more him that's taken on that
Mhm.
title. I don't know.
because they
So is
built
the
up.
book going to be on from
I think
his?
so.
Which I think
But
we
going
got
forward, though,
told,
I
but
think.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope so. If she comes out with another book and it's like the same freaking story in his version, I will riot.
Oh, I hope not. Because I actually I hate when we have like we go back and do it from their point of view. I don't need to reread the whole story. Like, no, thank you. No thanks.
Especially because they were so in this book, they were so heavy. It'd be different if they weren't together all the time, but they
Well,
were
plus this was
together
a
most of the
dual.
time.
I mean, they did a dual POV, so I mean, like, we're good. We can
Yeah,
just keep it
she's.
like
I
that.
think she's just gonna focus more on Kai. Well, we got all of her, like most of what we got from Kai in this book, wasn't it? When he was with,
When he was with her, yeah.
Mhm.
So I think maybe in all of, I keep wanting to call her violence. All of Payton's is from. She's not always with Kai. She's sometimes off with Kit. She's sometimes doing
True.
other things, but most of Kai's, from his point of view, is when he's with her. So I think
Yeah.
maybe Reckless. I think it would make sense to have it be him wherever he's at, whatever he's doing, and hers only when she's around him. Although I
Maybe.
do want to. I hope they almost don't do that because I want to see what she's doing when he's not, because she's hiding from him.
Yeah,
But it
her
would kinda be-
story is too important.
Yeah. I think maybe for the
Still.
beginning of the book, it would be kind of fun to just see like him in pursuit of her
Yeah.
and like us not see her for a little bit, I don't know.
I will say I was trying to finish it for my daughter so she could have it after me, and it was like, oh sweet, I'm done. And then it was like, here's the next chapter. Like, huh. Okay, one more. I'm gonna read this. And I was like, oh sweet, I'm done. And then I flipped the page and like, here's the next book. Like, when does this end? When does he end this book?
Okay, I will say it took me much longer to get through this book than it would a normal book.
Mhm.
And I felt like I was listening to it all the time. And that's
Because
what I
it's
mean by
repetitive.
that's why it got 3.5 stars, is because it felt like a never ending story
And I
that
think-
I was barely getting information out of
Mhm.
towards the end, and it just kept going and going and going. And I'm like, okay. And that might be the difference in listening to it and reading it. I don't know.
No, I felt the same when I was reading it.
I don't
But I
know.
think
I
it's
didn't
because
really
there's
feel
the
it,
repeated scenes. You watching it?
I said I don't really feel that way. Like I didn't feel like that. I had
Did
that
you
feeling.
listen or read?
I'm reading,
So I
but
was the
like
only
I
one that
also
listened, right?
like
Mhm.
that's how I felt. Like I mean, that's how I feel with all of the Throne of Glass books. Like I feel like I can't like get there, and like so it's funny that you're saying you feel that way about this.
I fly through the Throne of Glass
That's what
books.
I mean, that's what's funny because like I'm struggling.
I read one of them in one day.
Like I'm about to be done and just move on to Crescent City, to be honest with you, because I'm done. Like I don't know.
I will say though that it took me 3 weeks to get halfway through the book. But once I got to the halfway point, when it's right around that last trial, leading up to that last trial, is where I was like, okay, this is, I mean, there's still a lot of things that didn't really make sense. They didn't flush it out well enough, but it was that back half, little under half maybe, where that's when I was like, okay, I'm into this now. And I got through it quickly.
I feel like that is so like that is just par for the course when it comes to fantasy books.
Yeah. Well,
Like the first half, with the exception of Fourth Wing. I feel like
yeah,
Fourth
I
Wing is
was
our only
hooked immediately.
exception. Because even Iron Flame, I feel like did that a little bit. It took me a little bit to get back into the Iron Flame book that
Really?
it did Fourth Wing.
Hmm.
Fourth Wing is the only, but ironically, that's the first fantasy book I've ever like read.
Mhm.
And
Same.
it like jumped, but everything else has been so slow, like in the beginning, and then it like picks up and keeps going.
See, I was ACOTAR, Hunger Games, Divergent, what is the other one? Fourth Wing. I loved all those first books. Like I was hooked pretty quickly. I think that they did a better job of world building.
But we know how
it-
much I hated the first ACOTAR, so
I
you
know,
can't say
but I
that,
think
so.
I think in Powerless, because maybe it's because it's her first book and she wrote it when she was quite young, didn't she?
I think so.
So I think maybe she didn't really world build. So the world didn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like,
That's
I'm
true.
here and now I'm here and this thing happens. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
okay, but why and where and when did it start? So there wasn't, I think that's why it was too slow for me at first getting through
agree.
the first half, because there was no world building. I enjoy the world building.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it took me so long to get through the first half, because that didn't exist here.
Yeah. I usually go and try to look up a map or
Mm-hmm.
some kind of something just so I can visualize
Uh-huh.
where they're talking about and what they're talking about and
Mhm.
getting those. Yeah, I'm with you there. I have to.
That's where the fan art helps. And I feel like I never saw any fan art for this until just
No.
recently.
And it's good
Because I
fanfic.
usually try to go to Pinterest and look at this because I need a visual in my head for these kinds of books.
Yeah.
For every kind of book. I mean, I'll even go look at fan casts of like romance novels. I like a picture in my head a lot of
Mhm.
times.
I will say though that Lauren Robbins is very good about details.
Mhm.
I like the color she injected into this world. A lot of like when I think of Fourth Wing specifically, it's a lot of grays and blacks. I mean, Rider Black is the main thing, which is totally fine. I'm not against that. But I liked the idea with the balls, for instance,
Mhm.
where they were all in different shades of green, and she would describe those colors of green, but then not Violet, Peyton would always have a different color. And I like how she was really good about detailing that color and how it looked. So in my head, as I'm reading it, the world is a really interesting cross between like Renaissance and present day. I'm going to make a weird comparison here.
Okay.
And I get that it's weird. There's a Disney movie where it's like those blue guys. It's Chris Pratt is the voice of one of them. What's it called? And the magic died out.
Not Elements.
Oh, what is it called? My
The
husband
blue
hates.
guys?
Is
Yes.
it Elements? No.
You're talking about Avatar, are you?
No,
No.
not those blue guys.
Okay,
Different blue guys.
I was like, wait, what?
Their dad dies when they're young, and they have this staff, and they have to
Oh,
go
Onward.
onward. That's what it is.
Onward.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna make that comparison, and I get that it's a weird comparison, but it's
Okay.
only because their magic is old, but they're in modern day, and that's how I was reading. It was like, okay, there's some like when
Okay.
you go to the Manitour's restaurant, it's a lot of old style buildings, but they are
Yeah.
modernized, and that's
Yeah.
kind of how I read this book, and I think that's a really interesting concept to blend those two worlds, and I think she did that well. I think the way she described the world was done well, but she didn't build the world is my problem. The way she described it, though, I think is good. And she's really good at depicting emotion. Whenever Peyton was crying, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Her dialogue, I felt like when it's actually them speaking to each other was really good. Like it felt, for me reading it, felt really natural. Like I
Mhm.
felt like I was really into like the flirting and the banter between like it felt so, I don't know.
I
I
agree with
really
that.
liked the dialogue portions. And
Mhm.
I think that's maybe why like some of the extra descriptions is where it drug on for me. But when we were actually together, them in the trials, we're having like they're having their conversations, we're doing
Mhm.
stuff. Those were really like the parts that really stood out to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think once I got past the repetitive dialogue, because like it's not all repetitive. Not everything she says is like, I'm hearing this again. But when she introduces new concepts to them and the new banter between them, I really did get behind that, and I really enjoyed that because it showed different aspects of their character that weren't built up, and I thought that was well done. So I'm excited to read her second one.
Yes.
If you are reading this book and you're like, what, why are we talking about this? When does it get good? Continue reading, finish it out, and I guarantee you will be a little surprised at something. And if you're not, maybe don't read the second one. But I think you should be surprised by the end. By at least one thing, you should be surprised.
I would only say read it because I think the second book is going to make up for
I really do
the
too. I feel like
first.
I just have it in my head. I know not everybody felt this way about ACOTAR, but we know how I felt. I'm envisioning it like that, where I push through. And I mean, I rated this higher than I did the first ACOTAR. The first ACOTAR got 2 stars for me. Like it was, I didn't like it.
My God.
Yeah, I hated it.
I liked it.
The first Throne of Glass didn't get that many. It only got like 3. Like a lot of times these first ones, like I said, Fourth Wing is the exception for me. Like all the other fantasy books I've been trying to read, it's taking me a little bit to get into the story. And I really
see
think this
that.
is going to be the case with
And
this
that's
one.
even with our shows that we discuss. I think on all of our premiere episodes, we said over and over and over again for every one of them, watch the second episode, it'll get better the second episode. So even season by season,
Yeah, I
the
mean,
shows that
very
we watch, the
rare.
opener is like,
I mean,
okay,
This
well,
Is
that was a
Us is
letdown.
probably the only show I can think of that had me like from the very first episode,
Which
like, oh
one?
my God, This Is Us. Like,
Oh,
being like,
yes.
this was amazing. Like,
Mhm.
usually the beginning of something is not that great.
You
So,
have to build it.
Yeah.
If you build it, they will come. And I think that's what Warren Roberts is doing. I think she's building.
Yeah.
And I think
No,
it'll get better.
I still
And
love the show.
I think hearing her talk about it and hearing that, okay, she does have this planned out. So she has to have an idea of where it was and why. I think that
Mhm.
makes me feel more secure and okay, I'm gonna continue this.
I mean, talking about this with you all, I wish I'd rated it higher, but I just can't justify it because I am so invested in what's to come. Like, I want to rate it higher.
I think 3.5 is a fair rating. It was her first novel and it was good enough to make us want to continue. And I think 3.5 is a fair grade for that. Because not every first, if you're writing the only exception to that is if your first book is a complete novel, you better do it well. But in
Yeah.
a series, when you're writing a series, you can get away with the first book not being as great as the rest because you always throw away the first of a series. Even on shows, you throw away the first and
Yeah.
you give it a second shot. That's why in novels you always say read 2 or 3 chapters. But in a series, it's read the first book, get through the first book, and get to the second. And if you don't like it, then
Yeah.
don't continue.
Yeah.
I
If
agree.
you don't like a series after the second book, then
You're
I
probably
would
done.
say other than like Throne of Glass, because I feel like every Throne of
Oof.
Glass book that I'm reading like keeps getting better.
Yeah, because I'm halfway through book 3. I'm not quite there yet.
Oh, really?
Trying.
I've heard so many good things about the Throne of Glass series that I'm actually really excited to start it.
There's like no romance, and for me, romance
Well,
is
that's
big.
cool with me.
I don't even.
Yeah, there
but I
is
mean,
no romance.
I mean, I
really.
don't even need necessarily smut because like Powerless works that there was a romance. There's really not much. Like
Yeah,
there's
but
a little
it's
flirt,
coming.
a little, but not. I don't know, not enough to grab me. That's another story for another day. But
Wait till you get to like her and Sam.
I don't want to read her and Sam because why do I want to read about
But
Sam?
well, because
He's
it's
dead. Like
I know, but
They're talking Throne of Glass right now, by the way. I don't know what they're talking about either.
Mhm.
I haven't
I
read
don't
that
even
yet.
have to. I don't know why I whispered he's dead. You find that out in the very first like
You do.
sentence of the first book. So, like it's not a secret, but like
I know, but that's
I
the
want to
thing
know
is
more
you
about
don't read
Dorian.
anything
I
about
just
you.
skipped to Dorian's books because I've seen too many TikToks that I want to know more about what happens with him.
I'm not even there yet. I have no idea. I think I'm about to get there though. But I need to continue and stop getting
All I require in my
distracted.
books, I don't require romance. I don't, and obviously I don't want the smut, but I don't even require romance. What I require from a book is you have to capture me, and that can be done by adventure. That can be done by making me think. So I'm kind of
Mhm.
excited to
You'll
read the
like
Glass
Throne of
series
Glass.
because it makes me like. That's why I like the first ACOTAR so much because I didn't like the sexy times. I liked the world building. I liked the detail. I liked visualizing it as I mean, obviously there were some things I forgot, like that they were all in masks and that some of them had different color hair. Totally missed that, but I enjoyed the activity of it.
Yeah,
There's
You'll
another
like
book.
her because Selena is
you
this,
will like it probably more than I do.
like 17. Well, I don't know how old she is, 17, 18.
She's young.
But she's an
You're gonna make 'em so
assassin.
young.
She's an assassin, and she's like the country's top assassin.
Now she
And
is
nobody
badass.
knows that she's
Like,
a young
yeah.
girl. They don't know what she looks like, who she is.
Yeah.
So
Like,
she's like
she's
into
not
this
like-
secret world.
She's not like our Peyton here or our Violet or like Feyre in that they were these sweet little innocent girls that sort of just get thrown into and turn out to be badass. No. Like Selena is badass. So like
Okay.
it's a different. Like,
She is like she's like I would love a movie of Throne of Glass and see her kick so much booty.
I mean, you would need a whole series though, because like this. I mean, there's 10. How many books? 8 books? Whatever.
8.
There's a lot.
Maybe that's her hope eventually. I don't know.
And I
Another-
I think with Marine, I think you should read Assassin's Blade first.
I say read it first. I wish I had because now I think I'm just gonna skip it.
So
because I
you're
don't-
not going to
someone
go in
needs
the
to give-
traditional order.
Someone's gonna need to give me an order to read these things in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll
Don't
write,
care.
and then
Yes,
if
thank
you
you.
if you read the physical books, you can
I do.
technically tandem read
tandem
2 of the
read.
books at once.
Okay. Actually,
And
there's
there's,
who
like, a
was telling me that they
certain-
do that. I think I might have been on TikTok, but they said it's that girl that I follow, the Christian book reviewer. She said that she'll read to us. She knows she has a list that she reads with, so she knows
Uh-huh.
which chapter to flip through and go to the other book.
Yes, there's a list out there.
There
Okay.
is, and they people like tab them, so you know, like this is one,
Well,
and
see,
then
I
you go
like
the other
that.
book. This is two, and then, you know, it's I listen, so I just don't. I don't feel like it's worth that listening.
Switching back and forth. Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy them. I will rent them from the library, so I probably won't be able to do that. But if you give me books to read first. Another book that I read recently, it's kind of a silly book, but it's really good. It's Assistant to the Villain. And that was that turned out to be a really good, it's another like fantasy sort of book. And it's really well written, and it made me laugh. It also, and there was a point where because I had to actually clean my house. So I had to put the physical book
Boo.
down, and I was put the audio on because I like to, I think I've said this before when we talked to Akatar, but I like to listen while I read because I listen at 2 times speed. So it keeps me hyper focused on the book. But when I'm
Yeah.
reading on my own, I will constantly I'll listen for kids, I'll look up, I'll do, and I can't get through it
Yeah.
as fast. So I like to listen and read at the same time. But I had to just do audio for the end because I was cleaning. And there was a point where I actually gasped because I was so shocked that something could happen at the end
Oh, I love that.
that I was like, wait, what? And I had to rewind it. And like I gasped so loud that my husband's like, are you okay? I'm fine. Shh.
Good.
I'm
I
fine.
cannot wait until you can read some Frida McFadden books.
I am
You're
reading
gonna
one now.
love- Are you? Which one?
I'm listening to one. It's just a little novella. It's Never Lie to Me.
Oh, okay.
The Housemaid one I do have on my list, and I will be getting that soon, but I'm trying to
I
get
will
through.
say start with Never Lie.
That's what I am reading. I'm listening to that right now.
Never Lie?
Isn't that, yeah, is it? I thought it was Never Lie to Me, but it must be Never Lie.
That's
It's
not
got a
what you
little
said.
typewriter on the front,
I
right?
think so.
Yeah, it's short because I'm listening to the audio and it said the audio
No, it
was
has a
only
couch on it because she's a psychiatrist.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. I thought it was a typewriter. It was only 7 hours to listen to the whole thing.
All her books are.
Oh, really?
They're all like this big.
We're
and
used
little.
to the Akatars.
I
That
know,
are
that's
like
it.
14 hours long.
I can read a Frida McFadden book in one day,
Novella. It's
sitting
only
down like
7
with a physical
hours.
book. One day, I get through.
I thought that all novels were like 20 hours, 18 hours.
No.
This is my first foray into audiobooks, so I don't know what I'm doing. Oh,
Okay.
I thought, okay.
You need to tell me what you think about at when you finally get to the end of Never Lie, because that was the first
I
Frida
have a
book
feeling
that
her
I ever
husband
read.
is the EJ, is her client.
I mean, I'm not gonna let anything. I'm not giving anything away because you will learn if you read a Frida McFadden book that you have no idea. Do not even try to guess the ending because you're never gonna get it right. You're never gonna get it right. So
Good to know.
I got one right. And still then it's not like I got it like perfectly right. There was still some twists and I was still like, man, when am I ever gonna get one of these books?
I'm excited to read those because The Housemaid is on my list, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that one's good. There's no
What?
romance in them.
Good. I don't. Is there anything else we want to say about Powerless or anything else you think that we need to let readers know when they go into this? I think this is the first time we've all rated a book the same.
I know, it's really strange.
Yeah.
Like exactly, like 3.5. Like,
But we all have like different opinions about it.
yeah,
But we've all rated the same. So
but
that's
it's all the same.
interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, her next book, which is Reckless, comes out in what, August? Right?
July.
July. Ooh.
Yeah, I can tell you exactly because I already have it pre-ordered. Let me look at my
Okay.
Amazon.
My poor daughter, because I took so long to get into it, she only had like a week to read it. So I had to return it, and because there's holds, I couldn't renew it. So she has like a quarter of it to read, and she's like, but there's a new one up. Yet you can't read that one yet. You have to wait. Sorry.
Oh yeah, 'cause
You
you can go to that. July 2nd is when it comes out.
July
So
2nd,
not
okay.
that long. Yeah.
I haven't
No.
pre-ordered that one yet. I pre-ordered Onyx
I did
Storm.
that one too.
I did too. Oh my gosh, January feels so far away. Like that's one book where I'm like, give me
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
I need this to be. I need it in my hands now.
Yes.
It's coming on my dad's birthday.
Is it?
I was like, woohoo.
All right, so that's 3.5 stars when we gave it one. I think it's worth the read. I think the series is going to be worth it, especially once you get more into it. I think it's going to be a good thing. I think she's going to do a lot more with it. She's got one novella out now called Powerful. It's on the tail end of Powerless. Please do not read that one first. Finish
No.
Powerless and then read Powerful. You're going to need to do that. Do not jump ahead to that one just because it's shorter. You're going to need to finish Powerless first. And I think the other novella is probably coming out after Reckless.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense.
About it.
I think it would make sense for Reckless to be about Kai and then the little novella to be about Kit. Or Kai's perspective. Reckless would be Kai's perspective. And then little novella about Kit. I think that would make sense.
Mhm.
Given how we've gotten these ones. Because you already know that Powerful is about Adina. And Powerless is obviously from Peyton's point of view. I cannot remember her name.
We have a lot of names in our head all the time.
We
It's okay.
do.
They're all dual POV because even like the Powerful is both Adina and the guy Max.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm excited to read that. I can't wait to read that one.
I love him. Like I think he's gonna be up there like top tier like book boyfriend. I think
okay.
he's getting there. He's got this fun little kind of like not
Riddick
like the
style
flirty.
personality.
He's got like a personality like you can tell he's like a good guy, and there's definitely a like who did this to you sort of vibe to him kind of thing. You know,
Okay.
we love that with
I like that.
her. Like he's a little, but like he's like kind, but like kind of like unbothered. Like I don't really need you. Like so sort of that aloof, like we like that, you know, like you gotta
Okay.
earn their attention kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, stay tuned for what we've got coming up next. We have another ACOTAR review coming towards you. We will be discussing A Court of Wings and Ruin or Aka War, which I like that.
Aka War.
That's my favorite one to say, I think, is the Aka War.
What is the one? Court of
Akamath.
Mist and Fury? That one's not fun. ACOTAR. I like saying ACOTAR just because that's the first one.
ACOTAR school, yeah.
So that's coming up for you. We've got Bridgerton coming up for you, the first part. We've got some final season, or nope, not final season finales.
God, I hope
Totally
not.
different things.
Please don't
Totally
make it
different.
like that, Maureen. My
Those are not
well,
interchangeable words.
some final seasons. I mean, Station 19.
Oh yeah, Station 19. Yep. So we've got a Grey's finale coming for you. A review. Station 19 review. We've got Chicago all 3 review. What are the other ones?
911.
Fire Country, 911, Will Trent. All those finales are coming at you for the season. They should be. We're assuming they're going to wrap up around the end of May. Every time I look up, when does this end? It doesn't give me an end date, and you can't always trust IMDb's listing of that being the end.
Yeah.
So we're assuming end of May. Those will all be coming at you. And then hopefully The Bear will be coming out in June. So we'll have that for you as well. I missed that one. I think I'm going to use that as an excuse for my husband and I to rewatch seasons 1 and 2 because it's so good. My husband, by the way, has been making Italian beef sandwiches like it's his job now. They're good.
I want to make one now. That
They're
just made me
so
think
good.
of that. Yeah.
They're easy. He uses the Dutch oven that we have and our Instapot together, and it's just whoo, they're so good.
That
Sounds good.
So that stuff is coming out. You stay tuned for that. Don't forget that we have closed our Facebook groups. So Facebook did not. We chose to combine because we are expanding again. And we realized that if we continue to create a Facebook group for everything we expand into, man, we're going to have 1 million. So we just wanted all one cohesive place. So in our Facebook group, which is Fandom Family Chats, you can discuss all of your favorite shows, all of your favorite books. Give us recommendations on there.
Yeah.
Hey, have you guys seen this show? Watch this show. You want to read this book? Read this book. Give us recommendations on there, but join our Facebook group, Fandom Family Chats, and you can find us all over social media under the same acronym, Fandom Family Chats, or FFC, which is the acronym. I just realized I said that. But FFC
We
is our
understand.
acronym.
We got you.
And on that note, we'll see you real soon. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, Family Fan Club 2021 at Wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.